So I just checked out the Ted miniseries on Peacock, which revolves around Ted in 1993, and I absolutely love the first Ted movie. What Seth MacFarlane was able to do with that movie, giving us this unique premise about this teddy bear that comes to life, and then he turns out to be this foul-mouthed, pot-smoking teddy bear that does drugs and just does a lot of weird things that, a teddy bear shouldn't do. And that premise right there was absolutely unique. And I came out absolutely loving that movie. It was funny, unique. There was a good amount of heart that I was not really expecting in a movie like that. But you bought into the relationship between Mark Wahlberg and this teddy bear. And that is where the movie absolutely hit for me. And then we go into Ted 2, which I like a little bit more than most people. I think that first hour before we get into the road trip had some of the funniest moments that I had ever seen on screen, and I was just laughing from the beginning till that halfway mark where we go on that road trip to go see Morgan Freeman in New York. I think that last half of the film was really where it took a bit of a step back for me. But when I heard that they were going to do this prequel series revolving Ted and John navigating their junior year, and we were going to be seeing his uprising kind of before the events of the first film, I was a little bit nervous because we really didn't need a prequel as to what happens before the events of the first 10 movie, because we kind of saw that in the opening montage of the film, and I thought that was good enough for me. Then the first trailer hit and I was on the fence about it. I did not like it as much as I should have. I felt like the humor was a little bit forced in the trailers, and there were a couple of chuckles that it got out of me in that first trailer. So going into the show, I was optimistic but yet pessimistic at the same time. Starting off with the positives that I have for the show, I love and adore that the fact that they brought in the raunchiness that you would expect from the movies over to the show. You have Seth MacFarlane's DNA all over this show, and it absolutely shows. The same raunchiness that you have in the show, you absolutely get that in the movie, and you kind of see the upbringings that we have with John getting into weed, getting into porn, really having a coming of age tone to the show, which I absolutely loved and adored. And then you also have his cousin, played by Georgia Wiggum, and the relationship between this family I enjoyed. There are elements about this family dynamics that I really enjoyed, and when it came down to the relationship between John and his cousin Blair, I really enjoyed that. For some strange reason, she doesn't get mentioned in the movies, but I'm gonna just leave that as my nitpicks. And Max Buckholder as John, I thought was absolutely great. What Mark Wahlberg was able to do with that movie, convince you that you are talking to a teddy bear and you have this relationship between these two. Max and Seth had wonderful chemistry on screen, and I thought Max held his own. I think he did a really good job of being a younger version of Mark Wahlberg, and everything that Ted and John do in this movie is going to have you in stitches. I absolutely enjoyed a lot of that, and I thought there was a healthy amount of callbacks to the movies that if you're a fan of the films, you're absolutely going to get. So having those in there absolutely made me smile, but it didn't feel forced. It felt natural. I thought it worked with the comedy that they were doing, and it all just flowed just perfectly for me. And then going into the things that I mildly didn't enjoy about the show, I wasn't the biggest fan of Scott Grimes as John's dad, mostly because he just felt like an ignorant prick. And I know I'm kind of basing this off of the movie, but the dad that we get in the movie and the dad that we get in the TV show feel like two completely different characters. It felt like they weren't really true to who the dad was at the beginning of Ted, because it just felt like a different character, and everything that this dad was doing really felt obnoxious and stupid, and I was not really vibing with it. That every single time that he came on screen, I just didn't want him around because he's an overall prick, and he is somebody you don't enjoy seeing on screen. He neglects his wife, which feels completely different from what we have in the movies, and he really doesn't care for his niece. And then some of the humor here and there wasn't for me, where in the first 10 movie all of the humor felt really natural and really funny. In this show, it felt like a mixture of both Ted and Ted 2. There are moments in here where I was laughing my ass off, and then there were other times where the humor wasn't really hitting for me, and it just felt like a stretch. The disappointing factor about the show is the fact that it was 7 episodes, and I really enjoyed that the majority of them were 40 minutes, because I really loved binging the first couple of episodes, and I still wanted the show to keep going. So on those aspects, it was disappointing, but at the same time, when you realize that it's a TV miniseries, I kind of wish we had a little bit more. But overall, really enjoyed the show. It really surprised me because I was really hesitant going in. But Seth MacFarlane, I'm not gonna say that he knocked it out of the park, but it definitely was a win. There are moments in here that are really funny, and you can see Seth MacFarlane's DNA in here. And then you also have some moments here and there where the humor wasn't hitting for me. Some of the characters were unlikable. For me, this was a win. This was a fun win. I really enjoyed it, and it's a bummer that it's a one season show. Hopefully, if this does well, I hope that we get another season or another movie, because I kind of wish we had a trilogy just to wrap everything up. But if you're a fan of Seth MacFarlane and you enjoy his humor, you're going to enjoy the show. But if you're not, then this probably won't win you over. But I still had a lot of fun with this show. But those are my thoughts on the 10 miniseries. Have you guys checked it out, or are you planning on checking it out? Go ahead and drop the thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys soon.